Hey, what's good, YouTube? Let me go ahead and throw this thing at your forehead piece real quick.
Psst, I see dead people.
All right, now, so just like everybody else on YouTube, I'm trying to get on some of that Kendrick and Drake beef because, they feeding folks and I'm starving. So, time to get on it too. But I want to come at it from a different perspective, not of one of just like, oh, I like this or I like that, or just listening over all the songs over and over again. I'm pretty sure you guys have already heard all of them. But what I do want to do and what I am more interested in is trying to deduce who was telling the truth. And I came down to two parts. That's one, the part between the two parties involved, Kendrick and Drake, and then there's going to be a second section for the public. So that's what I want to do. I want to get to the first part of the accusations, which is between them two, and then the other stuff, which is between them and the public. So I want to start with the accusations. Boom, boom. We have Kendrick accused of being a wife beater, cheater, and father of Dave Free's son. And then on the other side, we have Drake being accused of being a torpedo or a rumor, or at least having that in his personal circle, being a culture vulture, and also hiding a daughter. And now, so what I want to do is I want to kind of point out like where these things kind of came from and whether they hold weight or not. So, starting with Kendrick, we see that he's been accused of being a wife beater. However, there wasn't really much publicity based on him beating his wife. Like, we haven't really heard anything about that. But what there was is that there was a web report of him hitting and harming a hotel staff or casino staff or something at a place that he was performing at. But that doesn't constitute him really being a wife beater. It just kind of him hitting someone else. So I didn't think that it really counted much. So that's why it's in red, because it's kind of an empty, vapid point. And then we have him being a cheater, which he dropped a whole album pretty much talking about it. So like we know. He kind of self-snitched all on his album, so we get it. And then also him being the father of Dave Free's son. Him raising Dave Free's son. I haven't heard any actual evidence for this other than Drake talking about how Kendrick's own wife doesn't follow him on social media. And from what I heard, they never really followed each other on social media. So if that is indeed the case, then this point right here is definitely very empty. So, and not only that, but even if his wife follows Dave Free and not him, that's not, to me, that doesn't seem to be a very justifiable cause, or it doesn't seem to directly relate between the two. It doesn't make sense. But now we move over to Drake's side. Now Drake is accused of kind of being, torpedo and a rumor. And there are plenty of references on the internet. And when when Drake himself said, "Oh, I knew you would use the Epstein angle." I don't even know if I spelled his name right. I don't even care. But it was like, why would you know he would use that angle? Like, bro, what? So it's like either he is into it or he has a circle full of people that do it. But regardless, he's around it. He's been seen doing some not so great stuff, and because of that, it's very believable. It's a pretty heavy point. That's why it's in green. Now, Drake being a culture vulture, and my favorite song of Kendrick Lamar's, in his back and forth, They Not Like Us, he talks about how Drake pretty much got all of his sauce from the South, specifically Atlanta. But he did get it from the South in general because he was brought. I saw a video of talking about Drake's whole career kind of being formed from the South. So it's because of him being in the South, getting co-signs like Bun B and whatnot, and Lil Wayne. It helped to establish his legitimacy. However, when he's raps some of his songs like "Whipped and Chained Like You American Slaves," it's like, what? Like we don't rap like that. And then when he was talking about, even in one of his disses, talking about Family Matters, talking about how Michael Jackson really wanted to be white, like he didn't. Like no black person. Like we make jokes like that, but we don't truly believe that because we know it's not true. But he made that joke like he believed that to be true, and it's like, nah, like nah. So he's definitely not of the lineage of the true Black American culture. He's not really of it. So him being a culture vulture and kind of getting his come up from the culture, but not being of the culture, definitely gives heavy credence as to why Kendrick Lamar said that it sounds weird when he says the N-word. Because there's a video of him saying the N-word and he says it very weird. Especially to be half black himself, he says it very weird. Like J. Cole says it pretty normally. However, Drake, he had to learn how to say it. I don't think J. Cole had to learn how to say it, but Drake had to learn how to say it because he grew up with nothing but like his white Jewish side over in Canada with no real Black American upbringing until he came over here and was kind of manufactured to become this super pop icon in rap. And now the last part is a hidden daughter. Now with this, he said he misled Kendrick on a secret daughter. However, even though yes, that could be this could be an empty point, I still say that it's more so empty. Although we do have this, and this is because this has happened before. We've heard it with the story of Adnan. Adnan. I don't remember, but basically, Pusha T pulled out that he had a son, and turns out that he did have a son. So even though Drake said that he purposely misled Kendrick, yeah, but you said that you didn't have a child before, and then it turned out that you did. So it's kind of one of those. It's kind of like a back and forth for that one. And now that we have the accusations that are thrown across both of these people privately, well not privately, but both of these people, these individual parties now involving the public, is where we come to the arguments against them and the responses to them. Arguments against Kendrick and then arguments against Drake, and the responses that can most likely be to their benefit. Now, starting with Kendrick, one of the biggest ones that I've seen was that, well, Kendrick, if you've already known something was up with Drake, you should have been said something or done something. Which is a legitimate concern. I'm not going to hold you. It's pretty legitimate. However, it's easy to say that when you're not in his shoes. Now, when we look at people like, let's say, an Epstein, he wasn't dealing with no mamby-pamby, run-of-the-mill average people. He was dealing with some very high official ranking people. And speaking out against him could most definitely make it look like, you're setting yourself up to be a target. And Kendrick has a family that he has to protect. And it's easy to say, oh, you should have said something, but what if it came at the cost of your family? What if it came at the cost of your money? What if it came at the cost of your life? Or even worse, what if it came at the cost of his, children? It's easy to say that, oh, you should have said something then, when you're not the one in that situation to actually say something and have something to lose. So I don't judge. So like, even though at first I was like, yeah, he really should have said something. Why would he save all of this for a beef? But then again, it's like I had to understand I'm not in that man's shoes. I don't have what he has to lose. So if I had to lose what he had to lose, maybe I would have did the same thing. It's always easy to say you should have done something on the outside when you don't have to do anything yourself. So I'm like, because of that point, hey, I was taking my step back. And not only that, but if he would have said something, it could have been taken that like, oh, you just are hating on Drake. Oh, you're just hating on him. But he really wanted to say something, but it would have just been taken as hate. But because he hit him under the guise of a rap beef, now he actually does get to say something. But maybe he only got to say something and have it be heard because it was a rap beef. So if you're going to go back and forth, it's like I have reasonable cause to come at you this way and people won't think twice of it. So maybe that's what he was doing all along, because apparently he had the whole song They Not Like Us in the work for like a whole month or two. So he's already been plotting on, getting at Drake. So maybe this was an elaborate scheme so that he could say something. But, hey, we never know. And then at this part, since Kendrick was wrong about Drake's alleged daughter, maybe everything else that he said was a lie. And the response to that is, that isn't the biggest pressing issue, and we've heard that story before. So it's like, that isn't the biggest pressing issue, because the biggest pressing issue for Drake is this right here. This is his biggest issue right here. That right there, because, yeah. So, that's what he has to worry about the most. So, worrying about a daughter and then like negating everything else because maybe that daughter is not there, it doesn't negate the other 2 points that Kendrick has also pointed out. And then lastly, we have Drake himself. And some of the questions that I've seen thrown at Drake was that, why would you know Kendrick would take the Epstein route? Like, why would you be like, oh yeah, I saw that coming? Why? Why would you know that was coming? Because you probably already, you've been doing some stuffs and some things and whatnot. You've been putting yourself in some situations. But also, argument on his defense, like he said, he's never been arrested for being with minors in spite of, public displays of what he's been doing, but he's still never actually been arrested for it. Now, until he gets arrested, then it's like, okay, when he gets arrested, then it's like, okay, all right, cool, we can say it. But if he hasn't been arrested yet, then it's still alleged at that point. No matter about them public displays, if he wasn't arrested, he wasn't arrested, and we got to still go with alleged. Because we can't say that he did it if he hasn't actually, been charged with it. And the other question I've heard was, do you have a daughter? Because we've heard the story before. And like I said before, he said he was given this he was given this information to Kendrick on purpose in order to delegitimize his other arguments against him. However, these other arguments against him, they're kind of strong. Like just these 2 right here, they're strong enough. They're strong enough to take Kendrick's side, because Kendrick, the main parts of his don't really hit that hard as compared to these 2. And so with this being the case, I would have to say that if I were to take someone's word for it on who is or who isn't telling the truth, who is telling the truth, I would have to say that Kendrick is telling the truth and Drake is more so on the side of not telling the truth. And not because he probably wanted to lie, or not because Kendrick wanted to, get at him or something, but just based on the information Based on things like these, it's like it's like based on things that Drake has accused Kendrick of, they just don't hold as much weight as the stuff that Kendrick has accused Drake of. So because of that, since it doesn't hit as hard, then I would have to say that Kendrick has more, he has a higher likelihood of being heavier in the truth than Drake does. So if I were to have to side on the, if I would have to side on who I believe is telling the truth, I would have to side with Kendrick, because his stuff, it his accusations of Drake hits way harder than Drake's accusations of him. But maybe you thought a little different. I would love to hear your opinions in the comment section of like, who do you think is actually right, or who do you think is actually wrong, or who do you think is telling the truth, or who seems to have more weight in the truth than the other. I'll be very interested in hearing your thoughts on it, and subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for more videos. Yeah, have a good one. Peace.